Hello! After about 3 or 4 months of not posting anything on YouTube, I'm here to tell you that I am alive and well, and Stanford has been an incredible experience, and I'm gonna just give a little recap about my first quarter there. I really wanted to continue posting videos throughout my first quarter to show you guys what it was like, but honestly, I had no time and it was hard, and I had to deal with my transition there and deal with life, which is why I just have not been able to do it until now. And it's winter break right now, so I'm back home and I am so excited to tell you guys about everything that happened, because so much happened. We started the quarter off with NSO, also known as New Student Orientation, and that's where there's a ton of different events going on every single day where you can visit different departments. I went to an art open house, or you can see shows. I saw an a cappella show that was really amazing. And there's a lot of different events with your dorm, so you get to really know the freshmen in your dorm. And I was staying in Norcliffe this year. Norcliffe is a 4-class dorm, so not all freshmen. And it's on the West Campus, which people make fun of a lot because it's far away, but it's not that far away. But even I joke about how it's far away. Anyways, I got to learn a lot about the people in my dorm and make friends with them during the first week, and it was really awesome. Everyone is really open to making friends, and so we were all just talking all the time, and I was meeting a ton of new people every single day. It literally felt like a summer camp. And honestly, even though I did have classes after that and I had to deal with actual school, it still feels like a summer camp. It's so much fun. It's bright and happy, except when it's raining, but that was only for 1 week. Things are happening all the time, so it's just a really great and fun environment to be in. Classes started on Monday, September 22nd, and so I kind of knew what I was going to be in already because I had enrolled in classes, but I was still a little unsure. And so we do this thing called shop for classes, where you can go and visit on the first day and see if you actually want to be in it. And there's this whole application process sort of to be in classes, where they'll give you a slip of paper and you fill out your information and why you want to take the class, and that can also determine whether you're in it or not. So my first class was called Data as Material. It is an art course, and I was the only freshman this year in that class. Everyone was older than me. It was also a very small class of about, I would say, less than 10 students in there. So it was very small. And it was a really interesting class overall. I think I'm just gonna talk about the class throughout the whole year. So I was definitely challenged in this class. Data as Material, I know you're probably what is that? It's art, but it's thinking about art in a different way, and in terms of data, and how can you represent data in different ways. And what is data anyways? Because anything can be data, my sleep schedule can be data and things like that. So I also learned a lot about 3D in this class. So we learned how to 3D scan, and it was really fun actually. I made a 3D scan of myself. So I literally had myself as a statue in the computer, and then we could 3D print them also. And so one of my projects, I 3D scanned my friend in different positions, and then I 3D printed those, which was cool because then I had a little figurine of my friend, and then I made this whole video where I put him in different environments and made the piece about that. In this class, we also learned Blender, which is a 3D program. It's think of Photoshop, but in 3D and extremely more complicated. It was really hard for me to keep up in this class because I felt like I didn't know what I was doing most of the time, because everyone was older than me and I thought that they knew what they were doing at least. But honestly, no one knows what they're doing. I had to learn Blender and most of the things kind of on my own, because in a lot of the art classes, they don't teach you the actual technical side of the program. It's just here's some things you can do and learn the rest on YouTube. So that's what I did for a lot of my projects. Moving on, I took another art class called Digital Art 1, and this class was really fun, and we learned stuff in Photoshop and After Effects and processing, which is a coding language, and that was very new to me. And really fun to experiment with, and I also for that had to learn most of it on my own and just looking stuff up on the internet. And so the way that art classes usually go is the teacher will spend most of the class showing examples of other artists and their work, and we would talk about it and stuff like that. But we also do a lot of critiques. So when we do our own projects, we always share them with the class. And it was interesting because one of my classes did it where everyone else in the class would speak first about the piece, and then afterwards the artist would share what their meaning and concept was behind all of it. But in the other class, we started off with the artist speaking about it first, and then everyone else would make comments about that. So that was just interesting. Teachers have their different ways of doing things. What I found interesting about the art classes at Stanford was that everyone is really good at making up concepts and making their work mean something that's deep. And I didn't have too much of that in high school. I mean, there was a lot of like, oh, I just want to make this because it looks pretty, but you can't do that here. It has to actually have meaning. So I got a lot better at that, and by better I mean like I would make every single element of my piece or of my work have meaning or contribute to the concept of the piece as a whole. So that was my art classes. And then I also took this English course called ESF, which stands for Education as Self-Fashioning, and mine was specifically 7A, which is the transformation of the self. So basically what ESF is a way to knock out both of your requirements for think and power. They're just Stanford requirements. Power means like a writing course. And so this was a great way to knock out both of those requirements with one class. And this class was 7 units though, which is pretty large. My art classes were 4 units each, by the way. So this 7-unit class consisted of about 15 students. So again, very small class. My other art class was really small too. So yeah, 15 students, and on Mondays we would have seminars where we would talk about the readings that we read over the weekend. Usually they were Plato's texts. So we read like the Apology, Euthyphro, Gaieties, the Symposium, things like that. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we would have class with a different teacher who was our main teacher actually, who worked with us on our writing especially. And we did a lot of collaborative work with our peers. We did some peer editing throughout the whole quarter, which is 10 weeks, by the way. We wrote 3 essays in total, but these essays were pretty large usually and had a lot of meaning behind them, and we worked a lot on them, and that was really nice. And I actually really enjoyed this class, and usually English is not my strongest suit. My light just went off. That's okay. Usually I don't find English to be that fun, but in this class I did. I had so much fun, and I think it's because I really liked my professor. Oh my god, I've been saying teacher this whole time. It's professor now. I'm in college. I really liked the way that my professor taught the class and made it a really fun and open environment, so I felt free to speak what I was thinking all the time, and we would, like I said, do a lot of collaborative work. I became great friends with the people in the class, and there's some really awesome people in there. And it was just a really great experience. Oh, also, aside from that, on Fridays we would have this thing called plenary, which is where all the people in all the different ESF classes, because there's a bunch, not just ours, they would all gather in this one auditorium, and we would listen to a lecture by a professor from a completely different field. So we've had someone from art history, we've had someone from economics, and they would just give their presentation and we would learn something new. The whole idea of ESF is to really immerse us in Stanford's liberal education, and so that's why at plenary they tell us about a bunch of different things so we can be really open. Yeah, so overall in my ESF class, I really had a great time, and I became a much better writer through the whole experience. And we also, oh, this is really great, we have one-on-one meetings with our professor where we can just go over our essay and talk about it and what needs to be fixed. And I found that extremely helpful and really nice that we had some one-on-one time with our professor. My last class, which is not really a class but more of just a fun seminar, was called CS 547. It was a human-computer interaction seminar where different people from all over the world and at other universities would come and talk about their work and their research in human-computer interaction. I took this class because I wanted to just expose myself to human-computer interaction because I might want to go into it in the future, but the downside of taking this class and not knowing a whole lot was that I was lost like every class. I didn't really understand what was going on just because I just didn't understand all these technical terms. But when I did and when I found something interesting, I would definitely take note of it and write stuff down. But I do think it was good for me to take the class because it was just interesting and it was that good exposure. However, I just wasn't able to grasp as much of it as other people could. So I also really wanted to take hip hop 2 specifically, and I went to the first class, and after that I dropped it and I'll tell you why. So I have a lot of dance experience from the past, and so I was expecting something that was really challenging and something maybe similar to what I've done and seen at my dance studios in LA. However, Hip Hop 2 was just not at the level that I was looking for. There were a lot of people who hadn't danced before, which is like great and fine, but I was just looking for something that was a little more challenging. And so I realized that that wasn't going to be the class for me, so that's why I dropped it. And it's totally fine to drop classes. People do it all the time. So in total, I took 16 units my fall quarter, and that's pretty normal. I mean, average is 15, so you should always stay around 15. Never go way, way above 15 for your freshman fall quarter. Don't do that. Just don't do that. You're gonna die. You're not gonna die. You're gonna overload yourself. And I'll tell you about my experience with being overloaded with stuff, because I was, and even though I wasn't taking that many classes, I was still having a very, very difficult time to complete all my work and my homework. But it is because I did a musical. So for my fall quarter, I performed in Gaieties, which is a Stanford comedic musical that they put on every single year. It is student run and student produced, written, everything is done by students, which is really, really amazing and fantastic. And I was so fortunate to be in the cast as one of the main freshman heroes. So that was so, so, so fun, but a huge time commitment for my first quarter. Rehearsal was every single day except Friday and Saturday, usually in the night from 7 to 10, and then eventually 7 to 11. So yeah, big time commitment, because that would be when I would usually do my homework, but instead I didn't have that time. And so I would try to fit in homework in between classes in the middle of the day. So that's why it was so challenging to get my homework done, and I was stressed a lot of the time. But I'm gonna keep talking about Gaieties. Gaieties was literally the best experience ever, and I'm so, so, so glad I did it. So if you are interested in musical theater, do Gaieties. It's so fun. It's just off the hook. This show is crazy. It's vulgar. There's cursing. We act like fools, and it's so fun. It's about this rivalry with Cal, and Cal as in Berkeley. Berkeley people are the bad guys, and then Stanford are the good guys. So the whole story revolves around that, but the theme is different every single year. So yes, this was a really, really fantastic experience, and I met some of my closest friends through this experience because I saw them every single day, and they were theater people, so we had a lot in common. And then the show happened right before Big Game, which is the big game between Stanford and Berkeley. We had 3 shows in total, and each night had a different audience. So the first night, which was a Wednesday, was Frosh night, so all of the freshmen in all of the dorms rolled out and came to see our show in the big memorial auditorium at Stanford. And it was just really awesome because it's crazy. Most freshmen came and saw it that night. The crowd went wild and they screamed the whole time. They scream at us the whole time. And then on Thursday's show was the arts and family night. So they had different arts groups come in, and family and parents are welcome to come. I was really lucky. My parents actually came and saw the show, which is really sweet. And then on the last night, Friday night, was called Row Night. So the Row is the street where all the fraternities and sororities live. It's very party central. So all of those people came and saw our show while they were super, super drunk, and they screamed the entire show. So you couldn't really understand the show, but it was still fun and amusing for them. I think it was more like a concert at that point. So everyone was just going wild, and it was just so fun. And I'm so glad I got to be a part of it and meet all these people through it and understand the theater community at Stanford, and everyone is really talented. Also, this was just the most positive experience in a show I've ever had, like especially for being student run. Like, it was so efficient and everyone just was focused and did their thing, and there was like no drama and everyone was just friendly with each other. So aside from being in a show, I was also working a job. So once a week on Fridays, I would ride my bike for half an hour and go to my job in Menlo Park. So it was off campus, and basically I was creating a WordPress website for a company that helps out the poor in Cambodia. This job was very low-key and easy for me to do, and it was also just only once a week, so it was nice to still have a job and get money, but it wasn't as much of a time commitment. So with all of that and all the things that I did that quarter, it was very difficult to do life and like self-care. I found myself needing to literally schedule when I would take showers. So my Google Calendar is literally insane. I had to plug in every single thing that I was doing like every second of the day. And so I would have to schedule when I would take showers because like it was hard to find time for that, or when I would go grocery shopping. I do eat dining hall food, but I also like to make my own smoothies in the morning and have snacks sometimes too. Also, in terms of self-care and like health, the dining hall obviously is available to you, and there's so much to eat, and there's desserts everywhere all the time. There are desserts in the dining hall, but there's also desserts given to you by your dorm and your RAs. And so it's just very difficult to stay healthy in that case. I did gain some weight while I was in my first quarter, and I didn't have that much time to exercise aside from dancing in the musical. So that's something I'm definitely going to work on next quarter. I'm planning to go to the gym more often. It's really nice that we have a gym available to us. Also, the gym is literally across the street from my dorm, so very convenient. Also, in terms of being healthy and self-care, I'm gonna talk about sickness. I kind of had a cold, but like not really. I never really got an actual cold. There was that, but like there was this point in time where everyone was just getting sick. They call it like, I think the freshman plague or something, where like all the freshmen just start getting sick. And there was that time in my dorm especially, but also in all the other dorms. And everyone had a different kind of sickness, which I thought was interesting. Some people had like a cough or cold or whatever. Other people had like ear infection, I think, or something. I unfortunately got the worst thing ever, which was Norovirus. So that is where you throw up over and over and over for a whole day, and it's really horrible, and it just came out of nowhere. So Norovirus infected this whole dorm called Burbank, which is on the East Campus, but I'm on the West Campus. So I was like, how did I get this when it's all on the East Campus? Like, no one else from my dorm got this virus, but I did. And I think it was because of Gaieties and the show that I was in, that I got it, because I was exposed to a lot of those people who live on the East Campus. So yeah, I was just like having a fantastic day this Tuesday. And I was like, yeah, going about life. Life is great. And then Wednesday, I wake up. Something's not feeling right. And then I just threw up. And I had to go to the restroom over and over and over and over and over the whole day, and I felt absolutely horrible. It was one of the worst days I've had this quarter, but that's okay. It's all okay. So I just kind of dealt with it myself. I skipped my classes, and my RAs were really caring. They asked if there was anything they could do to help. They would give me Gatorade and some food. I didn't eat that entire day, actually. Like, I just did not eat a single thing, just to let my body get out anything that it needed to get out. So that was awful. The next day was a Thursday. I still missed all of my classes because I needed to recover. Luckily, I was not throwing up anymore, and I just spent the whole day sleeping. I was just super drained. And then Friday, oh my gosh, Friday was Gaieties retreat. So the retreat for my show that I was doing, where everyone had this big party and we all went to this amazing house off campus, and I really wanted to go. so I made sure, that's why I like slept all day Thursday, so I could go on Friday. And I went, and it was okay, except I still had like stomach problems. But anyways, on Saturday though, this is a low point. This is a low point in my fall quarter. On that Saturday, I came home from the retreat, which was the whole sleepover thing, so I was super sleep deprived. I had just had norovirus, and I sat down at my computer late at night. I'd just gone out to dinner, and I looked at all the things I had to do and all the work that I had to catch up for that entire week, because I just hadn't done homework that whole week. And I was just so overwhelmed and stressed, and I realized that I just had so much work to do that I didn't think was possible to do. And then I also found this assignment online that I had no knowledge about at all whatsoever, and it was a huge assignment, and I ended up having to like design a hypothetical app, which I did end up doing. But when I found out that I had to do that assignment, I literally freaked out, and that's when I had my first breakdown in college. So I just sat there crying for about an hour, I think. It was pretty horrible. It was a tough weekend, but you know, we make it out alive, and it's okay. And I got all the things done that I needed to get done. I just had to really be productive the next day, the next couple days. Yeah, oh yeah, because I had rehearsal the next day, Sunday, which is why I was crying on the Saturday, because I was like, I had no time to work on it on Sunday, because Sunday we had rehearsal from 1 to 5. So I made this whole project like in the morning, I think, before coming to rehearsal, and then after rehearsal I sat down, crammed out some more work, came up with that whole app idea or whatever, and that was due Monday. So it was a tough time. Life will be tough, but at the end of the day, life is always tough for everyone, and everyone's going through it. So we all just recognize that, and people are there to help you, and it's totally fine. And fall quarter was a blast. Oh, here's another thing I'm going to talk about. Finals week. I had no finals because I was in those 2 art classes and an English class. So I had final projects and a final essay, but no actual tests. So those were all due the previous weeks, so before finals week. So that week I was stressing and trying to make all my work and write the essay and blah, blah, blah. And my whole Thanksgiving break was spent working. Finals week, I had no finals. I'd finished all of my projects and my essay, and I just had free time to be here. And so I used that time to hang out with friends that I had met this quarter. And so every single day I did something fun. I went to San Francisco, I visited an art gallery, I went to the Stanford shopping mall with some friends. I had lunch and dinner with like someone new every single day, and it was just such a great time. And I'm so glad that I actually spent that finals week, that free time, at Stanford rather than going home early, because some people do that. They just go home early if they don't have finals. But if I'd gone home early, I would just be here in my room when I could be in San Francisco walking along the streets with some really awesome people and eating nice food and seeing cool art. So that was really, really fun. So fall quarter was an absolute blast, and I'm so glad that I'm here and so fortunate to be at Stanford, and I really can't wait for my next quarter and to see what happens next. I'm also really excited to get involved with new things, because now that I'm done with that musical, I can join more clubs and experience what that's like. All right, so I'm gonna sign off for today, but see y'all soon.